Important tips and resources for buying your home.
So another reason that the home prices are going up is the government likes to promote people going out and spending money, especially during a micro recession like we went through in COVID, by lowering the mortgage rates. And on top of that, over time, they've continued to lower mortgage rates over the past 50 years. And one interesting thing with this is that they've taken the calculation for homes essentially out of inflation. So when they say that that inflation doesn't exist, or it's not happening right now, or it's not happening that bad, it really is happening that bad if you use the same equation that they came up with 10 to 20 years ago. But they changed the equation because the people in the Federal Reserve are paid, and their job is to, on paper, be able to go present to everybody and say, hey, we've been able to promote the economy. We've been able to drive down inflation to a healthy level, keep it within this 3 to 5% a year ratio. And if they go above that ratio, well, they're not doing a very good job, which is what they're paid for. So what do you do if you're not doing a good job? You change the way you do the math. And so they took homes out of the equation. But if you were to look at homes, and the inflation calculation that we used to do, you would see that we're having massive inflation right now. And it's going to take a couple years just for it to slow down. It's not going to reverse and just tank. It's going to slow down. So I'll go over what I think the basically end result of that is towards the end in super simple layman's terms, because I know this is a lot of information. So like I said before, this is the cyclical versus linear market that I covered at the beginning. Cyclical being crazy upswings, downswings, linear being a more smooth, gradual increase in home prices. The typical factors that determine our prices are going to be population growth, income, job growth, inventory, and how difficult it is to get lending, what the mortgage rates are. Now, what's driving up prices right now is the fact that in some places, the builders are having to spend up to 30% more in order to be able to build these single family homes for people, and they don't want to build them because they're not making very much money from it. We have the lowest lending rates in 50 to 100 years. So people are getting cheap money. There's a saying that goes, I'll give you your price if you give me my terms. I don't care if I have to pay off a Lamborghini for 50 years if I'm only paying $50 a month. So I don't care if I'm paying for $1 million home as long as I'm only paying $1,000 a month. I can pay that till I die. So another thing is, we had COVID start right around the time that we were supposed to be going into our spring buying season, summer, stuff like that. And we essentially missed that because we had these PED forms come out where everybody had to sign that, and people were afraid to buy. Every single conversation I was having, people were afraid to buy. They wanted to wait 6 months, and 6 months to a year is where we're sitting at right now. So everybody that said they wanted to wait 6 months is now done waiting. And so everybody's trying to buy right now, and it's building up a lot of pressure. The fourth thing is going to be the remote work. I don't even want to say exodus. It's more of very specifically COVID cause. Because of COVID, they enabled people to do a lot of remote work. 17% of job listings are now remote. So that trend is going to continue over time. And a lot of people dumped out of San Francisco down into these homes down here. And it's going to be kind of difficult to get them to go back up there. The reason in New York that we had a lot of people leave the major metropolitan city was for the same reason. They were able to do remote work. And the reason they returned quickly is because we saw a correlation with the remote work and a drop in the rental prices. In San Francisco, we didn't. There was an inverse correlation. People left down to here, and the rental prices up in San Francisco stayed the same. So if everybody's leaving the city, the rental prices are staying the same. They institute a rental moratorium, which is where the government essentially says that nobody has to pay their rent. The homeowners are able to do a thing called forbearance. And there was one other term for it where they essentially don't have to pay back the bank. All of this causes everybody to flood out of San Francisco. And one thing I think that's going to happen from that is that within 6 months to a year, we'll probably see a little bit of cooling down here in the Bay. We're still going to see the home prices going up 7-8% a year, but it might cool it down a little bit from the 15 to 16%.
Join our weekly webinar. Call us now at 408-763-8131 or visit the link on the screen.